Welcome to Right on Track, a songwriting podcast. Thanks to Tone for tuning in. I'm Demi Michelle Schwartz, and I'm thrilled you're joining me on my songwriting journey. So kick back and relax, don't fall flat, and remember, stay right on track. Hello, welcome back to Right on Track and happy 2025. I'm so excited to kick off a new year of the show with a fabulous artist. Please welcome Rick George. Hi, Rick.
Hey, how are you?
I'm fantastic. How are you?
Hey, I'm fine, just fine.
Perfect. Well, I'm so excited to have you on the show today. We have lots to chat about. But before we get into all of the specifics, I would love for you to share a little about yourself and your journey in music so far.
Yeah, I could do that. Thanks for asking. Um, my name is Rick. I I'm in Dayton, Ohio. I've been here for the past 5 years or so. But prior to moving here, I spent most of my life in Pittsburgh, which we had, talked about before we, hopped on the call together. You being from Pittsburgh as well. Kind of got my roots there as far as music goes and in writing, playing out. I actually started off when I was much younger in a metal band, and we played a lot of metal shows around town, and got to open for some cool bands. Like some pretty noteworthy metal bands, or at least noteworthy to us being metalheads. But then, shortly thereafter that, kind of growing up a little bit, getting a little bit older, started leaning towards country music, country folk, Americana. That stuff started to make a little bit more sense to me, as I aged. Still listen to some of the metal stuff now, but started playing around in breweries, wineries around the Pittsburgh area, doing a lot of covers, doing that whole thing before moving out this way, and then releasing my first EP of original songs just on December 1st. It was.
That is so exciting. We have lots to cover in all of that, but I'm so curious, what actually inspired the shift when you're moving into country folk Americana? Why did you feel that that was more natural for you to start exploring as you started to get into your journey as an artist and writing and releasing original music?
I think that music in general, any genre, at least for me, is personal and relatable. You can like songs just because you like them because of the musical elements or whatever, but I've always paid a lot more attention to kind of what the song's about, and what the person that wrote it or is performing it, is trying to get across, I guess, as a feeling, and the subject matter of those genres was just more relatable to me. I wasn't quite as angsty, as I was when I was into the metal stuff more. But there's a time and a place for any song, I guess.
Yeah, no, I love that. And I definitely agree with you. I think country music and folk music has that storytelling, lyrical quality to it. And it's interesting because I do pop and country, and I started in pop, and even my pop songs, and I still do pop now too. But even my pop songs, like lyrically, there are story elements to them, and they have a lot of qualities that you would find in country songs with the story and the emotion and the relatability and all that. And
Hmm.
so when I started to do country music, it felt like a natural transition and doing both. Like I feel like with the pop music, I write my songs in a way where whenever I'm playing shows, it still makes sense if I'm standing there with my guitar and singing it acoustic. It's more spun to the pop side when I get into the production and all of that, but I think as a songwriter, I try not to focus as much on what genre I'm writing because I think you can get into that with the production and whatever instruments you want to pull in, but I think the song itself needs to be strong on its own and be able to be performed acoustic and stripped back to really highlight what the song is about and what you're trying to say.
Yeah, that's a great point. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I totally agree with you. I think as long as you're kind of being genuine um, with the song, it probably doesn't matter what category it gets put into, and it's not like you need to be, like concrete to one genre either. Like this
Yeah.
is all I am a country singer,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
because it's so subjective.
Uh-huh.
What everybody thinks it is, and there's
Mhm.
a lot of guys out there that they just do whatever they want. Like
Yeah.
Sturgill Simpson, he did some country and then some bluegrass, and then he
Yeah.
had that I don't know, I guess you'd call it like a techno rock album kind of
Yeah,
thing.
yeah.
But yeah, it's cool and I respect that.
Yeah, no, for sure, and I think there's some of my songs even where, like, when I'm setting them up for release, it's like, I don't even know, like, what genre, but
Yeah, yeah.
So, how would you describe your songwriting process?
For the most part, I think it usually starts with an idea. Um, Rarely will I ever, um, think of a melody in my head, or like a chord progression or any kind of like lick on guitar. Usually, something will come up in my head, or there'll be some kind of experience or situational thing. I'm like, yeah, that I could probably write a song about that. And I'll kind of make a note on my phone, truthfully, so I don't forget, like for a song idea, and then whatever that idea is for the song, then I will kind of take that and start adding the elements, whether it's, what I want the music to sound like, or the progression, or any kind of, you know, musical elements to it, or what kind of instruments would be used. And lyrics usually come in at that point too. So it's kind of an all at once thing, after that idea is generated.
Yeah. No, for sure. I love that so much. And you mentioned earlier too that when you started performing, you did a lot of covers. So what was it like for you to shift from being a cover artist to starting to perform original music live?
Um, the weirdest thing, or not weirdest, I guess, but one thing, like even when I was doing the rock and roll stuff, a while back, I had my own way of singing. But if you do covers a lot, like you sing your own way, but depending on what song you're singing that belongs to somebody else, you kind of sing it their way too. So it was a unique experience, kind of figuring out what my voice was like, for my songs. Um, and it sounds weird to say because most people are like, well, you just sing, but it's kind of a weird experience.
Yeah. No, I think that's really relatable. I did a lot of covers as well before I started to really write and record original stuff. And I think by doing that, it helped me discover my voice a little bit.
Hmm.
And I think it's interesting. I feel like a lot of artists kind of start in the cover space before they do original music. But when it got to the point of actually like recording, what was it like for you to have that studio experience and record your music?
It was a good experience. I did a bit of recording years back, with full band, and the guys I was with when I was younger were very particular, as to how they wanted their, parts recorded. And I just sang at the time, so I was just sitting around, just getting annoyed, really. Um, but this go around, a couple years ago, I recorded a song in Nashville. It was a cover of a Waylon song called "Drinking and Dreaming," and used all session players then. And it was a cool experience because it was so smooth. I barely needed to um, like communicate what was on my mind and how I wanted it to sound because they somehow already knew. you know they did a great job. And this go around for this EP, or album that we just released, I was much more hands on with it. Our um, engineer at the studio, the owner, he did, some help with the producing aspects of it, but everything was written by me and produced as well. So we brought in guys that I play with regularly, and then found some folks around town, Greater Dayton, Cincinnati area, who played instruments that I couldn't play myself, and um, really that I just didn't know anybody who played them. Like we had a great harmonica player, mandolin, and fiddle, um, and steel guitar too. So it was good. It was everybody was very supportive. And they all did an incredible job.
Yeah, well, I totally relate to the hands-on experience when I'm in the studio. I'm very, very, very picky, especially when it gets to the mixing stage. Like, I will be so annoying about the tiniest things, and my producer just deals with me. But I'm very, very picky, and I grew up like in classical music. I'm a pianist, so I just grew up surrounded by music and being very trained with that and knowing music theory and like everything. So when we're in the studio, like, I'm very picky, like, this, and, like, all the instruments too, like, if I'm not playing it I play the piano, but I have a guitarist and drummer and, like, other musicians who come in and play, and I feel like with them, like, because I don't play those instruments, like, I'm less, like, direct with, like, what I want. I kind of just give vague instructions because they know way more than I do about, like, how to properly play them. I give them references and direction, but I'm kinda just like, "Do what you wanna do," and it usually sounds like exactly in my head what I wanted. But when I'm doing especially pop stuff and I'm playing most of the digital production, I'm very, like, very picky.
Yeah, yeah. That's probably bittersweet to have that amount of knowledge and experience.
Yeah, yeah, it's a pain sometimes, but, I find it helps a lot, especially, like, communicating with my producer what I want because I can articulate in music terms, like, what I'm looking for,
Hmm.
so
Yeah. See, I can't. I'm usually like, I kind of do this thing here, and maybe it'll sound like a train. I don't know.
Perfect. So you mentioned your albums. I would love to hear more about that. It's self-titled. What was your decision to choose to make that self-titled?
I threw around a few ideas for an album name. I've always just kind of liked the idea of a band or musicians, first album just being the band name or the artist name. But I did have a few other ideas for what to name it other than it just being self-titled. But all these songs, like I've been sitting on them for a while, and they're all just like pretty personal to me. Like there's not a lot of fabrication or just kind of like making stuff up for the most part. So it just kind of made the most sense to just name it after myself.
I love that so much. So I would love to hear about the song. So if you could give a little track by track and share what the songs are called and the inspiration behind them.
Yeah, thanks. The first one, which I guess could be considered the not title track, but kind of the single is called "Here We Are," and that's about. Well, I guess I should preface all this with sometimes like I'm a little hesitant to say what songs are about particularly because sometimes when I hear a song, I think it means a certain thing or it means something to me or I interpret it a certain way, um, and I really kind of relate to it that way, and then I find out it's like something totally different, and I'm like, oh well, that kind of taints it a little bit, um, like Neil Young, he has a song called "Long May You Run," and it's just a really cool song. And I came to find out that it's about I think his car breaking down. I was like, well, that's strange that you'd write a song about that. but to give some explanation, but not too much, I guess. Here we are is about um, essentially meeting my wife and, being married, having a relationship, really just having a relationship in general. And then, as it progresses, being able to look back, at all the things you've experienced together and what you learned from it, good, bad, and ugly. That's the gist of it. Lead Me On, that's about moving, or leaving your home in one way or another. Particularly for me, moving from Pittsburgh, where I spent most of my life, to Ohio, where I'm at right now, and how difficult that can be sometimes. The third track is called Homestead. This is, probably the most upbeat song on the album. Uh, it's got a really cool mandolin part in there. And that is about settling down, I guess, or aging a bit, maturing. and working on something new. In this case, family. After that is track four. It's called "Something I Won't Find," and it's kind of a musician's song in the sense that it kind of talks about wanting to be a musician. For this example, say like a touring musician, I guess, or at least kind of wanting to reach those goals per se, whatever it might be, and the struggle with being um, family oriented and having people that you love at home, and the contrast between those two things. It is an uplifting song. I'm not a one to advocate or want to be on the road constantly. That's not me at all. I'd much rather be at home. That's kind of what that song's about. The last one is called "Just Like Old Times." This one has a kind of a double meaning, or two reasons I wrote it. Started off writing it about a friend of mine that passed away years ago in a motorcycle accident, and it's a combination of that and kind of running into people that you haven't seen in a long time, and catching up with them and just reminiscing.
I love all that so much. I can definitely tell that this is a personal project for you. It makes total sense you decided to make it self-titled. And I think it's really cool how at the beginning you were talking about how just because you had an intent with this song, with what it means to you, doesn't mean someone will interpret it the same way. And I think it's really cool as songwriters and listeners how once those songs are out in the world, they can mean different things to different people. And I don't think there's one right or wrong interpretation. It's just how different people view those songs based on who they are, their personal experiences, their backgrounds. And I think that really gives complexity to music when different people can kind of bring their own takes to a single song and kind of have it have its own life for that person.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
Fabulous. So, what do you hope listeners take away from this project?
I guess whatever they need to. Hopefully they find some way to relate to the songs. Like we had talked about. Um, but I guess if nothing else, hopefully, five songs worth of something they like listening to.
Yeah, no, for sure. Well, congratulations on the release.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
You're welcome. So, now that it is 2025 wild, what plans do you have for the year?
Um, Probably just chill out for a little bit. It's
Good.
it took a while for me to put this music out, and it took a while to record it. So I'll be promoting it for a while. Um, but probably just take a little bit of a break, but then probably sometime around next year put out another probably five songs or so, maybe a little bit more, but with more of a full band feel to it. Maybe a little bit less singer songwriter kind of vibe, and more of a like a classic country honky tonk kind of feel to it.
Yeah, I love that. And good for you for making the choice to chill and take a little break. I think sometimes we can keep going and going and going. And me, like, I just released an album and I'm already working on an EP. Like, I feel like I never stop, but it's really nice just to relax sometimes.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I'll give it a listen.
Yeah, thanks. Well, what advice do you have for any songwriters listening to wrap up our chat?
Um, I think just start. Like if you're out there and you're thinking about doing your thing or doing some recording, just go, just start. And I think sometimes you got to learn along the way. Like I think I wanted to wait until I had all the answers, but sometimes you just won't, have all the answers, and you just gotta experience some stuff and get going.
Yeah, amazing advice. Well, thank you so much for joining me. And can you please share with everybody where they can find you online and listen to your music?
Yeah. rickgeorgemusic.com. That has everything on there, upcoming shows and media, booking, contact information, press kit, songs. And then that has links to, all my social media to Facebook, Instagram. I don't have TikTok. I don't know how to do that one. I'm too old.
Not on
I think.
TikTok
But
either. Never, ever,
yeah,
ever, ever,
good for
ever.
you.
Nobody can
Thank
pay
goodness.
me.
Yeah, I don't know. That's not for me. I don't
No.
think my demographic's on there anyways.
Oh, awesome. Well, thank you so much again for joining me.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It was good talking to you, and best of luck with everything you're doing too.
Yeah, thank you. And you too. Listeners, that is a wrap on this chat with Rick. And of course, until next time,
Stay
stay
right
right
on
on
track.
track.